Chi Town Cigar Podcast, where Chicago guys light up a cigar and getting everything from sports, hobbies, life's little moments, and everything in between. Whether you're here for the cigars, the conversation, or just some good laughs, we've got you covered. So settle in, grab your favorite smoke, and sit back. Now let's put some smoke in the air. Good evening, Marty.
Good evening, Mike. Good to talk to you again on this fine
Good to see you again.
Tuesday evening. We're live on X once again. So welcome anyone who's listening live on X.
If you've muddled through our first two retakes, this is good to go now. We're in. Oh, man. It goes along with the weather we had today. What is with that? 4:30 in the morning, I wake up to thunder and lightning, and I'm like, is this March or is this June?
It's Chicago.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
April is going to be, that's when tornadoes can happen. So
we're going to be in the 90s before you know it. I mean,
I'd be okay with that.
It's 45 right now on March 4th. So it's, we're going to be hitting the 80s and 90s before you know it and going, okay, let's cool down a little bit here or something. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. So what's new with you? What's going on?
Well, we had my mom's 99th birthday celebration this weekend, so that's quite a milestone.
Right. Yes. That's awesome. That's absolutely awesome.
Got everyone out to eat at a restaurant and celebrated, so that's
Is she one of those?
Quite an achievement.
Yeah. Is she one of those honorary 99-year-olds that basically don't give a crap and just enjoy life, or is she sort of quiet?
No, I think, when you get past a certain age, you kind of quit caring what anyone else thinks about what you do or say.
I'm doing that. If at 57, I'm doing that now. I don't give a rat's ass. I don't care. So.
Yeah. So she's still up and around and living on her own. So
cool. Awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. That is absolutely awesome. It's great to be able to hit that milestone and just to be able to enjoy it. You and I can only hope to live to be 99.
Yeah. And the other thing going on is somebody broke into my son's car today, so he had to deal with the insurance for that. They busted out his back window and then tried to hotwire his car, but they were not successful.
Do they hotwire cars? I don't even think that's possible.
I don't know what happened.
I don't even know if that's possible.
All I know is the wires were hanging down under the dash, so they were trying to do something.
Oh, jeez. Somebody's watching too many MacGyver shows or something.
Yeah, it's one of those Hyundais that has the recall for the ease to steal, and he's never gotten the rework done, the recall stuff done to it. But apparently his was not easy to steal.
Oh, somebody's ticked off. That's not what they showed me on YouTube.
Right.
Speaking of YouTube, we're up to 42 subscribers. So anybody that's watching us on X, jump over and subscribe on YouTube. Hopefully by next week at this time, we'll be able to go live on YouTube and have our first YouTube show.
Yeah, that would be fun. Give us a like and subscribe. And we're on all the things, except for Instagram. I don't think we have an Instagram yet, but we got X, YouTube.
No, we do not. Rumble.
Yeah. So, Spotify. You can email us.
Yep. Yeah. So we're expanding. We're doing our best to get out there and get the word out there about us. So what are you smoking tonight?
Well, tonight I am smoking the Espinosa Comfortably Numb cigar.
What volume is that? Do you know?
This is volume 1, I think.
Is it volume 1? Nice.
Volume 1.
Very nice. Very nice. Those are always hard to keep track. You sort of got to Google them to see what band is what. So.
Yeah, I forget. I think I've gotten volume 1, 2, and 4. I don't think I got 3, or maybe I got 1, 2, and 3, and
wow.
not 4. I don't know. I've got 3 of the volume.
Okay.
I like Pink Floyd,
Nice.
so kind of fits
Yes.
with our topic tonight, which we'll get to, cigars
Yeah.
and
I had
media.
the misfortune or the fortune of watching the Oscars on Sunday. And
You were
Mick
forced.
Jagger was on there.
You were forced to watch
Yes,
it.
I was forced. Yes, but Mick Jagger was on there.
Really?
Is it Mick Jagger? Yeah, from the Rolling Stones. And I'm surprised. I'm surprised he looked as good as he did. I'm like, holy cow, he shouldn't be looking that good. So, but
I don't even know how old is he. In his 80s or something?
it's got to be. But yeah, he was moving and grooving, not singing. He was presenting something.
I'm gonna ask Grok right now. How old is Mick Jagger?
There you go. Well, while you're doing that, I will tell everybody I am smoking the Tatuaje Corono. We'll see if we can get that up there. Maybe not.
It's not.
Maybe not.
It's not.
Nope.
No.
It's not focusing. But this is a great cigar. This is I picked up a couple of these at our last herf. So I love these.
Yeah, the Cajonus are. They got a bunch of different ones. They've got a broadleaf one, Reserva one, Corojo, but they're supposedly got that extra little Ligero kick in them, which is why they got the name Cajonu, which is Spanish for balls.
What was it?
Cajones.
Balls?
Cajones. Yeah.
Cajones.
That's where the Cajonu
there you go.
It's Cajones.
Okay. So, well, let's dive in. We got a bunch to go through today.
Mick Jagger's 81.
We got a new,
according to Grok.
Is he 81? Okay.
81. Yeah.
Nice call on that. But we got a new segment we're going to do today. We're going to try out, see how that works out. But kicking around some ideas, and I guess partly is watching the Oscars. I kicked out in our chat that I was wondering, and we could talk about the influence of cigars on literature, music, TV, and movies. And just sort of talk about that. I don't know, the more I got into reading about it, and the more I started thinking about it, it's interesting the way that, people, the placement of cigars in literature and in movies and TV is definitely, when you sort of think about it, you're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. So,
so we did some research.
We did some research. Hey, we're trying to keep our fans or fan educated and sound like we know what the heck we're talking about versus just winging it half the time.
I could have picked some of these. Could have picked some of these on my own, but I had a little AI help to make my list, and then Mike added some. So there's definitely a lot of instances of movies and television with cigars in them.
Yeah.
And literature.
Yeah, and it's interesting because the whole idea, again, you know, we see somebody smoking a cigar and we instantly think it's cool. Oh, look, they're smoking a cigar. Then when you look at the rationale or why they have certain characters smoking cigars, my boy, we've talked about this. We talked about this on our movies show. Clint Eastwood was all about his ruggedness, all about his defying the norm, you know, and you didn't see it so much in the Dirty Harry movies, but you saw it in all of his Westerns. All of his Westerns, he was always smoking a cigar, giving you that gruff look, that staunch, I'm a tough SOB type of a appearance. So, and that fit, you know, like I said, I would see him smoking and thought it was cool. And then when you start to think, yeah, it sort of does make sense that it does give you that impression that he's tough. It's not like smoking a cigarette versus, the cigar gives you that whole different perspective for the character.
Yeah, he always looked like he was smoking like backwoods smokes, like really rough cigars. Yeah.
Yes. And I'm sure they probably were back then. I'm sure it was just some tobacco they rolled up somewhere, and here you go. So yes.
Seems like a lot of times nowadays, they're the bad guys, like the evil rich guys, are smoking cigars. Like,
Yep.
I guess to indicate that they've got money to throw away or something, and they're trying to convey power.
What I found, power and authority. Yeah, to demonstrate their power and authority. I mean, in whether it's the movies or in real life, Al Capone, he smoked them. He wanted to demonstrate his power, his authority in the Chicagoland area. There you go. So that was always a big thing with him. He was always grabbing a cigar and enjoying it. And I guess that's more in culture than in anything else. We see it portrayed in the movies, but yeah, for Al Capone, it was always that power, that authority that he wanted the general public to understand about him.
Right.
And
that's why I smoke cigars, power and authority. It doesn't work though. I have neither.
No. But what about your two? I noticed two of them. I like both of them. But your two bad guys that smoke cigars. The Godfather, Vito Corleone, and old Tony Montana. I mean, come on.
Is the Godfather a bad guy? I guess he is.
I'm Italian.
He's in the, he's leading the mob and they kill a bunch of people. So I guess he's a bad guy, but they kind of humanize him.
Oh yeah. And it's the mafia. I'm not condoning the mafia in any way, shape, or size, but it was a way of running a business back then. I mean, it was, it was organized. It was filling a need. Prohibition. Who knows? 10 years from now, if there's a generational ban on these suckers, you might see a whole new mob coming out to be able to supply these to people.
Underground cigar bars, speakeasy cigar bars.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Oh.
So we got the Godfather, Scarface. He definitely was a bad guy. I don't think they tried to humanize him too much.
No. I will never forget that shower scene. I will never forget that. I watched Scarface. I watched Scarface for the first time in college. And I was in a movie theater. And I remember seeing that scene and I'm like, what the frick? Like, seriously? Like, oh my God. So yeah, that was an eye opener back in the day. So, and I didn't realize this, and I've watched these two movies probably a dozen times, if not more. James Bond, I was sharing this with my son this weekend. He was in town, and it's a memory I have with my dad of watching The Man with the Golden Gun. And there was just, I think I was telling him I was like 10 or 11 at the time, and that movie was on TV. And we were probably 80% of the way through the movie, and my dad goes, "It's 9:00, time to go to bed." And I'm like, but the movie's not over yet. So I was a big James Bond fan. But Die Another Day, he's in a Cuban cigar factory. There's a scene in the cigar factory. So that's it's interesting that they put that in there.
I kind of remember that.
With James Bond and cigars, it's pure sophistication. It's pure sophistication and style. We never saw him smoke a cigar. From GoldenEye, Xenia on a top. She's smoking a cigar in one of the scenes, which is always James Bond's female villains always had some of the most interesting names you could have for characters.
Always. Yes. Yeah, even the female characters had
yes
very
yes
interesting names.
I don't know how they got away with that back in the 60s and 70s. I mean,
yeah,
you know,
there must have been some discussions with the what do they call the people who censor what they say?
The censors. I think they were called. Yeah,
the censors. Right.
I don't know. I want to talk to somebody about how they got away with some of those names. So, but yeah, so, but those I was glad to see that those were mentioned in my list. And then you guys know again from our movie times that Wolverine from Marvel or the X-Men, but he was always chomping on a cigar, and I think that's just pure rebellion. That's pure. I don't want to be part of the norm,
right?
So we're gonna give this guy, and I'm sure that the creators of the Wolverine character saw that. I mean, Hugh Jackman portrayed him perfectly in the movies of just being an outsider, and I'm not part of your goofy group here. And you always saw him with a cigar in his mouth.
Plus, he didn't need a cigar cutter because he could just get mad and pop the things out of his hand and cut the cigars.
And it's funny you mentioned cigar cutter because I was thinking about this, and it didn't come up in anything I looked at, but there is a scene in one of the Mission Impossible movies where the guy uses a cigar cutter to cut off the finger of one of the guys. And that was always you see a bad guy taking that out, and they're playing with that guillotine cutter. You know what's coming,
right?
You know they're taking off a fingertip. So
exactly. Yeah, that's always a fear of mine when I use a cutter. Like, don't put your finger in there. That wouldn't be good.
Especially do you have a guillotine de Saka?
No. Yeah, that would
those things will take
your finger off and you wouldn't even know it.
Exactly. Yes.
You look down and just be spurting out blood and heading to the emergency room.
Honey, we need to go to the emergency room. What'd you do? I cut my finger off. What? You didn't have a chainsaw or anything in your hand. No, I just had my guillotine de Saka. I miscalculated the cigar for my finger. Oh gosh. Oh.
Always do that with the lights on.
Yes, exactly. And not while you're driving. Use the perfect cut if you're driving and trying to cut a cigar.
Yeah, you need to pull over. If you haven't lit your cigar by the time you start driving, you better pull over.
Yeah, exactly. And it's funny because the movies are the movies, but to turn around and see the influence of cigars in television, I was surprised. I mean, your list was pretty much. I didn't add. I think I added one thing to your list, but the influence. You didn't see it as much. I mean, I guess just because, it's a lot more easy for the youth or kids to see somebody smoking cigar versus a PG-13 or rated R movie or something like that. But one of them that caught me was your television reference on The Simpsons.
Right. Yeah, I actually went back and watched that episode. Yeah.
Did you?
So, yeah, Homer. So the story goes, Homer is playing hooky from church. Mm-hmm. And he's running around in his underwear and cooking chocolate waffles and doing all Homer kind of things. And he decides to have a cigar and he falls asleep and he burns the house down. and Ned Flanders has to jump into the house and save him. And yeah, so that's the Simpsons cigar story.
It's not so much his sophistication or anything like that, other than just pure stupidity. Cigars in that episode just represents pure stupidity.
Right.
And yeah. Oh man. Wow. My favorite cigar smoker, and he smoked a cigar every week because I've watched probably 98% of these episodes. But Hannibal Smith on the A-Team, every week he had a cigar in his mouth. And he at some point would have a cigar in the mouth, and what was his tagline? Gosh, what was his tagline? I know B.A. Baracus used to say he's on the jazz. You know, I love when a plan comes together. That was his tagline. He'd always be like, I love when a plan comes together. I'm like, how is he doing that? He got that cigar in his mouth, and I'm like, but yeah. But that was almost, it was almost a cool thing for him to have it. It was just like going, he's just a cool dude. It's just, it wasn't sophistication. It was just, hey, he's cool, you know? So.
My favorite one is the Seinfeld, because there's a few episodes with cigars in Seinfeld. Of course, that's like my favorite sitcom of all time.
Yes.
There's the one episode where Kramer starts a smoking lounge, and it's not a cigar lounge. It's like he meets people that are having a smoke outside, because I guess this was in the 90s when that was like a new thing where they were making you smoke outside, because he used to be able to smoke inside. So he invited them all over to his house, and then there was so much smoke all the time in his house, like his face got all lined, and then he tried to sue the tobacco companies, and they were going to win, and then he settled for getting his picture on the Times Square sign as the Marlboro Man. Yeah, Kramer is a Marlboro Man in Times Square. But the one I really like is the one where he tells Jerry's going down and visit his parents in Florida, and he says, "Hey, can you pick up some Cubans for me? I'll have a guy bring them over." He thinks they're cigars, but it turns out Kramer was trying to get Cubans to come up to New York. He's going to start a cigar rolling business.
Oh, geez.
So these guys show up, and Jerry has to bring them back with them. And then his business idea doesn't work out because it turns out they're Dominican, not Cuban.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. Major faux pas.
But he was having them study. These Seinfeld episodes just get so elaborate, and everything goes together in the end. And so Jerry's at the same time, he gets all these three guys, the Mandelbaums, who have a crepe restaurant, and they all hurt their backs and they blame Jerry for it. And so since the Dominican cigar rollers are out of business, he has them roll crepes, but they roll them too tight, and they all explode in the restaurant. Yes.
Oh, the writers for that show were unbelievable. That they could somehow intertwine all that stuff. You're at three different areas, and somehow it all comes to meet. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
It all ties together.
Yeah. Yeah, we always had Tony Soprano. Tony Soprano, again, we're back to the mafia. And I mean, I guess for a while, the Vito and the Al Capone and the Tony Soprano and all those guys smoking cigars. I think for a long time, it was seen as a symbol of authority and power, and then a symbol of the mafia. It's like, hey, those guys are all connected. Those guys are all part of the family. and they're all smoking cigars. And I think now it's, but I mean, how many times do you remember seeing James Gandolfini sitting there smoking a cigar and talking to guys and working things out?
Right.
So,
And they actually had somehow the guys at CAO, before they were bought out by General, guys who were running it, somehow got a line in to,
yeah.
I think it was the guy from Crown Heads, his name, I can't remember, but he was working for the CAO guys first before he started Crown Heads. And he somehow got an in to the Sopranos, and so they were supplying the cigars for him. And
Wow.
they called it the Associate. That's what they originally supplied, and then in 20 or it was 2015 or something, they came out with a line called the Consigliere.
Yeah, the Consigliere. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's all from the Sopranos show.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it fed back.
Good time again.
It actually fed back from the movie showing it into a cigar line.
Well, and right now, I can't think of who has the cigar, but there is the Serenity Now.
Yes.
Cigar that's out.
Yes.
And I smoked it. It's a great cigar.
Just got released last year. Right.
Yeah. So it's Serenity Now and Insanity Later.
Yeah, I think
so
that's
they're in the box
Asylum.
Together.
It's Asylum
yes.
that has it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And they're in a box together. So it's like 5 and 5. So it's a smart packaging move. It's a smart, I mean, it obviously carries the whole Seinfeld idea, but then to even do a 5 on 5 where you're going, okay, hey, and there are 2 different blends. So it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. So yeah, I mean, cigars definitely influence media, and media definitely influences cigars. We definitely see that, and we'll talk about some of the superstars that smoke cigars and their influence.
I wonder if they had to pay anything for that, to use this Serenity Now, or if they didn't copyright it.
I bet you it wasn't copyrighted, because I heard about it, and like I said, I smoked it. I didn't hear anything about any type of copyright or.
It's not like Jerry Seinfeld or Larry David need any more money.
No. And I'm sure that's the last thing they wanted to get in the middle of going, I don't want to fight on a cigar company that's going to go toe to toe with us,
Right.
So, but before, let's take a little section here, a little deep breath. Before we go any further, I wanted to try a new segment of our show, and it's called What Did They Say? And we'll put a little blurb up here or something like that. But one of the things, I know you do it and I do it all the time, is we listen to podcasts. We listen to other people's podcasts, and we hear what other people are saying. And I thought this would be a good time and a good part of our show to sort of highlight what other podcasts are talking about. And so we're going to, we'll see how this works out over the next couple of weeks, and we'll sort of highlight and talk about what some of the other podcasts are talking about. And that way, if you want to go back and listen to them, we recommend it. This is not you only can listen to our show. We want you to go listen to other shows. I mean, it's a good way to stay up to date on what's going on. At the same point, it's a good way to hear what others are talking about and to go from there. So one of the ones that I absolutely love is Bob the Cigar Guy. And I was listening. They're on Thursdays at 7:15 Chicago time, 8:15 South Carolina time. And they're out of South Carolina. So it's pretty much a Seinfeld podcast. They talk about everything and nothing all at the same time. But this past week, it was interesting because they were just having some general conversation back and forth, Chief and Bob the Cigar Guy were having some general conversation. They're bringing some audience members' comments into play, and all of a sudden on the screen pops up Michael Herklotz. And it's like, holy cow, Michael Herklotz he's in the chat room, and he made a comment and told them they're doing a great job. So we're like, oh, okay, fine. That's pretty cool and stuff like that. And then Ronnie from Secreto. Well, let me back this up because I made this comment and everybody sort of laughed about it. So Michael Herklotz comes on, and there was somebody else that came on and said something. And I said, well, all we need now is Steve Saka, and we know the world's gone to hell in a handbasket. 10 minutes later, Ronnie from Secreto pops on and it starts talking. So now we're like, okay, we've got Herklotz, we've got Ronnie, and sure as shit, the man, the myth, the legend, Steve Saka pops on. And we're like, that's it. It's all over. He's in the chat room. And he is like going, why the hell am I here? Ronnie must have called him up and said, hey, they're commenting about you being on here and stuff like that. So Steve came on and added his 2 cents. But it was fun. It was fun going back and forth and seeing his comments. And it's a great podcast. I highly recommend checking out Chief Talks on Thursdays at 7:15 or 8:15 their time. And just because they have some great things. Terrence Riley was a guest on. I know the other person that popped on. It was Michael Herklotz, and then Tim Swanson from Cigars Daily popped on. So and then I made my comment. I said, all we need now is Steve Saka, and then Ronnie, and then Steve came on. So
star-studded show.
It was a star-studded show in the comment in the chat room,
in the audience,
the chat room. Yeah, in the audience. It wasn't on the screen. It was in the chat room. So, yeah. So I highly recommend that one. Cigars Daily. Speaking of Tim, on yesterday he had his show. They were talking about, and I thought about this for our show. They were talking about the St. Patrick's Day cigars, the Shamrock, and the Filthy Hooligan. And people were not too fond of the Filthy Hooligan. They were a lot fonder of the Shamrock. I have not smoked either one, but yeah, they were talking about that and some of the goofy stuff that they had. One of their co-hosts, Terrence, went to the Tour de Liga with Drew Estates, and so they showed some pictures and video of his interactions there. So it's good. Tim Swanson does a good show. Very, very much what we're hoping to eventually morph into, a lot of audience participation, just like Chief does with Chief Talks, is audience participation. What questions do you guys have? What questions do the audience have? And be able to answer those questions. It's always funny because it seems like every time Tim does a show, questions about humidors come up. Glass top humidors, and what's the drawback to glass top humidors? So it was good to see that and hear that interaction.
Yeah, he runs
finally KM8.
Yeah, he runs a good show and a good shop too. Like I ordered a box from them one time and they didn't have it in stock. They were having to wait to get it sent back, and they called me, like an actual phone call. And it was Terrence who called me and said, hey, just wanted to let you know we don't have it right now. You can cancel your order, but we're expecting to get it in a couple weeks if you want to wait. So good customer service on their end.
Customer service is got to be top notch, and that bleeds right into real well to the next podcast. But I just received a similar phone call from Luxury Cigar Club or Luxury Cigar Store. I think it's one and the same. Same thing. I ordered a cigar. I ordered the Lure Oscaros and got a call from them going, hey, we have this in, but we don't have the Lures in, and we'd like to ship them both at the same time. I said, hey, fine with me, ship them together. I mean, when they get here, they get there. It's not like I'm using them for some special event or something like that. So I love a personal phone call. I love that. Hey, versus an email. Hey, click, hey, well, I'll let you know this isn't in. Okay, well, why isn't it in?
Right.
So Yeah. But yeah, so KMA Talk Radio is on Saturday mornings at 9 a.m. Chicago time, 10 a.m. Florida time. Abe and the guys are all gearing up for the Great Smoke. So they were talking about the Great Smoke and some of the challenges, and they announced a surprise guest for the Great Smoke. Did you see who they announced?
I did not.
Martin Cove,
Oh,
aka
yeah.
the sensei from Karate Kid.
I did see that.
You know, the leg sweep, Johnny, the leg sweep. So yeah, he's gonna be there.
That's
So
funny. And I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but if you haven't watched the final season of Cobra Kai is out now. The episodes are out.
yes.
And a cigar plays a important role in the ending of the show.
Wow.
So
Nice.
go take a look. It's not the last episode, it's the second to last episode, the penultimate episode.
Nice. And the last one I'm going to talk about, I enjoy it too, is the Cigar Authority. I don't listen to them live because they sort of clash in with KMA, but they're on at 11 o'clock our time. It's like noon up in Massachusetts. But Dave Garofalo and the guys up there went over their 2025 cigar survey or their 2025 listener survey. Always like to hear that. Always like to hear what people are saying. The big thing is the avatar for cigar smokers is gun wielding 45-year-olds. 45, I think it's 45 to 55-year-olds. I think was the prime market for them that smoke. I want to say they were smoking 2 to 5 cigars a week. That seemed low to me, but it's always nice to hear that. And then they did some talking to, I can't think of the brand owner for a cigar called the Gold Star. And so I'm looking actually forward to, I'm going to try to pick those up. They should be coming out in the next couple of weeks. He said, I think March 12th, he said those are coming out. I might try to pick up a 5-pack of those to try those out because they're really good. And they, last year there was a limited release of them and the money went to fallen Navy SEALs families. So they raised $30,000 last year in that line. So
good cause.
Yeah.
I watched the Smoke Night Live episode on Friday. They had Sandy from El Titan de Bronze.
Yes.
And she taught them how to pronounce it. She says, when Americans call, she says El Titan de Bronze. And when the Cubans call, she says El Titan de Bronze.
Nice.
Yeah. She's a barrel of fun. She's a very nice person, very smiley and happy, and they make some good cigars down there. I'd like to go next time I'm in Miami. Apparently you can just stop by and they'll say hi and give you a tour of their little operation there.
I heard, Chi Town Cigar Podcast is going to go on the road. We're going to do a road trip. So we'll go down to Florida, and there's a couple places I'd like to check out down there. So yeah, it was good. I enjoyed that podcast. I did not realize they rolled so many cigars for other companies.
Yeah. Warp.
So,
and I think
La Polina.
I think Eric Bay has a cigar there for Black Star line. I think they did one of these cigars. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, she was very interesting. A true boutique cigar line. It's they buy their tobacco from different companies, and she basically talked about she wants the top of the line, and these guys know, hey, when she calls, you better make sure that you're honest with her and tell her what she's going to get, and she'll tell you, yeah, I want it, or no, I don't. So it was very interesting. Yeah, it's always it's probably one of the better podcasts that they've done in a while with somebody, because you don't know a lot about her, and she just was really open and honest and forthcoming about everything that she's gone through and
right. The story of how she, they had a liquor store and they couldn't get cigars or something, so she had people rolling cigars in the store. That's kind of how they started.
And what amazed me with that, with her, was she only has 10 rollers, and they do it. So each roller does the cigar from start to finish. So it's not like they pass it off and say, okay, I've done this, and I've done the binder, you're doing the wrapper. It's start to finish.
Yeah.
And I think she was saying that I forget how many she said they put out, but I was like, oh man, that's just crazy. I mean, and it's all done in Tampa,
Right.
It's so well, awesome.
Yeah.
Good
So that's
deal.
a good episode, good show.
Yeah, fantastic. So that is our segment called "What Did They Say?" I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope we gave you some good podcasts to go back and listen to. If you're not listening to them, like I said, it's good to check them out and hear what somebody else has to say besides us. If you want to just keep listening to us, that's fine too. We don't mind. So, but back to our topic, we got a couple more things to go through here. Literature, the influence of cigars in literature, and that's there's quite a bit when it comes to literature, whether the author or the writer was smoking cigars, or whether they portrayed characters in their novels as smoking cigars. Mark Twain, one of my favorites, avid cigar smoker, always seemed to be incorporating cigars into his stories, whether it was the humorous side of things or whether it was a more social aspect of it. But in literature, it's even tougher because you've got to really portray that whole feeling of smoking a cigar in words as opposed to what you see on the TV screen or the movie screen.
I don't know that I've read a book where I've heard them do that specifically, like to grasp the whole process of it.
Yeah. I haven't, and if I have, I probably glossed through it, really not thinking about it. You and I both know to put in there, and he lit a cigar. It's not just okay, he torched the end of the cigar for 2 minutes as the flame began to heat up the tobacco to 100 and some odd degrees, and it's like, oh, okay, versus, oh, he lit a cigar and put it to his mouth and drew in a deep breath. It's like, wait a minute here. So yeah, I haven't, and like I said, if I read it, I probably skimmed through it, not thinking about it. It definitely piques my interest to go back and read some of these again.
Hemingway, of course, he's got, that's like they named some of the vitolas that in the Arturo Fuente line, I think, are Hemingway's. Maybe that's the I don't think it's the line, but I think it's a specific vitola.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, he definitely an avid cigar smoker, and definitely like to portray them in his books. F. Scott Fitzgerald, The Great Gatsby. Oh, you saw that a lot. You saw that a lot in that book. Again, the wealth, the stature, the influence. So that was a very interesting take on it. Again, when you see stuff on TV or you see on the screen, you're like, okay, fine. And again, like I said before, us geeks get excited. Hey, they're smoking a cigar. When you start to look at it in a book, you're like, okay, it has a different meaning. It has the same meaning, but you've got to sort of read it and almost picture that in your head as you're going through it. So,
right. Sherlock Holmes, or he was more of a pipe guy, but I guess they also had cigars in his books.
Yeah, I think there was a couple different mysteries that involved cigars. So I think that was part of the catch with some of that stuff. Maybe they found a fingertip laying around somewhere.
Maybe someone got murdered with a perfect cigar tool.
There you go.
Perfect draw. A perfect draw.
A perfect
That
draw.
would be
Yeah.
a
Yeah,
painful way
absolutely.
to die because that thing's
Oh,
got the little barbs at the end of it.
yes, it does. Yes.
Wouldn't want to get one of those in the eye.
Uh, Political figures. Every time I would research political figures, it would always take me to certain people or one particular person. Um, but there's three that I found. Well, you found two. I found one.
Yeah, I did
But
not
we all
know
know.
Ulysses S. Grant smoked 20 cigars a day.
I did hear that somewhere, and I forget when I was reading what you had written down. I had heard that he was like a prolific cigar smoker, like one after another and I don't know, were they petite Coronas or something like that, or were they robusto? I mean, we know the sizes now versus heck, for him they could have been little backwoods cigars.
That's
you
what I
know that
that's what I picture him smoking. Since he was like
Yeah.
a general out in the field a lot, that he would have had
Mm-hmm.
those backwood
Yeah.
smoke type cigars.
Yep. John F. Kennedy, the bane of a lot of cigar smokers' existence. But it's interesting because as I was looking at this, I was looking for your opinion on this, because they were saying that Pierre Salinger, when he sent the press secretary, when they sent him out to buy cigars before he signed the embargo, they said that's an antidote. So did it? I couldn't find out if it really happened or
Right. Yeah.
if it's just an urban myth,
I had heard
urban
he
legend.
bought like 2,000 boxes right before the embargo,
Yeah.
so they had all their cigars that they need for the rest of their lives.
Right. 2,000 cigars is, I don't know if 2,000 cigars is enough for the rest of your, well, for Kennedy, it was the rest of his life.
Boxes, yeah. Unfortunately, it was.
Oh, yeah. I guess boxes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess 2,000 boxes would get you through your life pretty far. So, and of course, there's one guy that goes without mentioning that we'll mention is Winston Churchill.
Right.
I mean,
Davidoff's
without Winston Churchill.
Davidoff's got a cigar named after him.
Yeah. And you got the whole line.
He's got a whole
Vitola.
Like a Vitola named after him, but they have the Winston Churchill cigars. The Late Hour and another one that's got his image on there, I think.
It's just crazy to think that his influence in the cigar world was to the point that they named a Vitola after him.
Right.
I mean, it's and I don't know the history behind it, but it's got to be that he must have requested those to be rolled at a certain length and a certain ring gauge specifically for him, because I don't know if somebody just came up with the idea of, oh, hey, we're going to name this Vitola Churchill, or if it was, this is what Winston Churchill smoked. This is the size or close to the size that he always wanted to smoke. So we're going to name, that Vitola after him. So, but that's a pretty big influence.
Churchills they're like 7 inches long and 50 ring gauges, 47 to 50 or something like that.
Yeah. So, and then to the last section, the section that everybody knows about, and that I threw in here is sports. Cigars in the sporting world are celebratory. They represent winners. They represent dominance. They represent championships. There's the controversial cigar game in college football between Tennessee and Alabama every year. So that still blows my mind. This year I watched that game live, and there was all kinds of uproar over underage college guys smoking cigars, and I'm thinking, yeah, well, They're also getting a lot of money for their images. So,
Right.
I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's wrong, but, definitely got to balance something out somewhere along the line. But being Chicago, there's two dominant figures that are avid cigar. There's actually three here, and I'll mention I didn't put that third one on the list, but obviously we're talking about Michael Jordan, who after every championship had a cigar in his mouth. There's pictures of him holding that trophy and a cigar in his mouth. There's the coach, who had his own line,
Right.
for a while, and there's a new line that just came out after another Chicago basketball player. Do you know who it is?
Scottie Pippen.
Did Pippen have one?
Maybe.
I know Dennis Rodman. Dennis Rodman has one.
Dennis Rodman.
Yeah. If I am not mistaken, Dennis Rodman has a cigar that just came out either last year or early this year that he is all about. So I was shocked to see it. I did not realize he was an avid cigar smoker. Yeah, the Dennis Rodman Ring of Honor cigar. 250 personally signed boxes with 3 golden tickets. So I don't even know what that means.
Maybe you get to spend a night in Vegas with Dennis Rodman.
Yeah.
That would be funny, a crazy time.
Yes. It's funny with that, though, to watch. Did you watch The Last Dance?
Yes.
And to see Michael Jordan's opinion of Dennis and how everybody says the same thing, that he was just misunderstood. He was just misunderstood. So it's like, wow,
They had to go to Vegas and get him to come back at one point because he took a few games off or something. Yeah, that was a great series. Yep. If you haven't seen that, definitely go watch that.
Yes. Yep. So the Dennis Rodman is a limited edition cigar, one size release. Guess what it is? It's a Churchill, 7x54, Connecticut wrapper, Ecuadorian binder and filler, Ecuadorian binder and filler from Nicaragua. I don't know who Rocky Kahori is, but that's who the cigars are made by, and it's to honor him being inducted into the Chicago Bulls Ring of Honor. So that's where that name comes from. 3 boxes will contain what a Dreamer cigar dubs a golden ticket, which upon receipt will win the beholder a signed Dennis Rodman jersey. So
Jay Cutler has a cigar.
There you go.
Too.
Who does?
Jay Cutler.
Does he really?
Yeah. It's like a $30 cigar. I don't know who he has make them for him.
Huh. I did not know that.
Scottie Pippen does not have a cigar. Check that out.
Okay. Okay. But yeah, and then of course we have Babe Ruth Red Auerbach, which is a really big cigar, was a really big cigar smoker. Every time his team won, he was firing up a cigar. And then of course we have LeBron, who I think he does it just so he can stay in step with Michael Jordan.
Does he have a cigar?
No. I don't think he does. He just is a cigar smoker. I've never heard of him having a cigar.
Yeah, I haven't either.
Yeah.
Grok knows nothing about Jay Cutler having a cigar, but I know he does. So he can't. Grok. I'm saying Grok. The AI Grok. Yeah. I asked Grok about Jay Cutler's cigar. They don't know about it, which I guess goes to show you it's not very popular. But I know he has one.
Well. But I think I was educated a little bit about the influence of cigars. I mean, we know they have influence. We didn't even get into the influence of cigars in music. Pink Floyd has a song about cigars. So
Yeah,
I don't
have
know
a
many
cigar, right?
have a cigar. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So
And of course, the Comfortably Numb cigars after
the
Pink
comfortably
Floyd
numb
with that
cigars.
cool
Yeah.
band.
Yep. So yeah, I mean, it's when you start looking at it, cigars are a lot more a part of our culture than I think we realize, and probably what some people want to be involved. I would venture to say they've replaced cigarettes. You obviously don't see people smoking cigarettes on TV or in movies or anything like that.
Right.
But yeah, you'll still see the old cigar get fired up on different shows. I think there's a remake of not remake, but there's a I don't know, part 2 of The Sopranos, right? Isn't it coming out with is it prior to Tony being in? Is it Tony being a kid, or is it his kid taking over
I haven't
for
heard
him?
that.
Yeah,
I know they had the movie afterwards. And like his son, I think, played a role in that. James Gandolfini's
yes,
son played a role in that.
yes,
Yeah, I really enjoyed researching some of this because I went and watched the Seinfeld episodes and I went and watched the Simpsons episode and looked at clips from like Breaking Bad and Mad Men and stuff. So I enjoyed that.
yeah. Yeah, it's fun to pick a topic like this and then dive into it. You know, we are by far, if anybody's listened to this show, realize we're not pulling this stuff off the top of our head. I'm not that smart. I don't have that type of memory. We definitely want to do the research and make it a fun show and sort of just talk about some things that you don't normally talk about. And when this idea came up, I thought, well, we'll see. I purposely left music out just because I thought, well, we'll go down some rabbit holes there we don't want to go down. But this was fun. I enjoyed this, and I hope anybody that listened to it enjoyed it.
Yeah, if we left anything out, let us know in comments. Any of your favorite movies or TV shows or athletes that have cigars, let us know.
Yeah, you don't have to let us know about Bill Clinton and cigars. We're well aware of that.
Yeah, we didn't
We don't
discuss
need
that
to.
in the president's one.
No. Well, every time I would put political figures in, it would bounce over to that thing, and I'm like, oh God, really? I'm like, I didn't need to talk about that. I didn't need to go down that rabbit hole and relive that that experience.
Right.
So I'm like, no. So
Give us an email or comment. Like, what's our email? Email is chitowncigar@gmail.com.
I was just, it is Chi Town Cigar, singular, Chi Town Cigar at gmail.com. Shoot us an email. Tell us what you think, what we missed. Also, if you have a topic that you want us to talk about, if you have something or you have questions for us, throw those at us. Like I said, the more subscribers we get, we're close. We're 8 away from being able to go live on YouTube. We look forward to doing that. And that way we can see your comments. Maybe we want to see them. Maybe we don't. Hopefully we do. But yeah, we definitely like to be able to interact with everybody. So how's that Comfortably Numb? I know that's a good cigar. How are you enjoying it?
I'm enjoying it. It's it almost went out on me a couple times. I've been having a hard time keeping it lit. I think I'm talking too much and not concentrating.
Yeah, that's the same thing I've had to do with mine. I've had to touch it up a few times, but all of a sudden I'm like, oh shoot, I've been talking and it's out. So, yep.
Yeah, but it usually
Awesome. And then just to fill everybody in, we didn't lose Teddy. Teddy is spinning off a Chi Town Cigar Podcast on Sunday nights. So he should be. You can look for him on Sunday evenings. I'm not going to spoil his big announcement of his co-host, but he does have a co-host for that show. And then when he's available, he will jump in and say hello and be part of our podcast, and vice versa. If there's something we want to jump in and talk to him about on his podcast, we will do so. I think next week we talked about this coming Sunday doing the West Tampa Circle of Life, and I think we will try to do that maybe next Tuesday. We just got to make sure that jives. I think Teddy's gonna be able to join us for that one, so we'll make sure of it, and then we will start our first review of that one. And it's from what I can see around the industry, it's being well received. So I'm anxious to fire it up and see what we think about it.
Yeah, looking forward to that one. We've got some others behind it. I got my Salida Reds this week, so looking forward to.
I did order.
Did you?
I did order the Year Duque. Yeah, I ordered the
Oh
Year
yeah,
Duque.
I did that too. Yeah.
So I got those coming. The Ascaro, the Lure Ascaro, which we will review those. So the next couple of weeks, we should be getting some cigar reviews in. So we'll have some jam-packed shows for everybody. But until then, I'm going to sign off and say goodnight. Marty, have a good night, and we'll see you next Tuesday.
All right. Good night, everyone.